So, welcome back to Boggy Creek Life. Returning subscribers, thank you as always. New viewers, hang out and see if you like it. What we're going to do today is we're going to start painting the Crypt Keeper. If you're new and you go back to the video catalog, you'll see I have a build up there where he was giving me a whooping with the plaster bucket. All 9 pounds of him now, it seems like. No worries. The next time I do vinyl, I went ahead and got some of this foam stuff. We'll give that a try. It's much lighter. So what I'm going to do here, at least to start out with, is put some primer on him. And because here's what we're going for here. Here's the look we're going for. Our paint reference, he's got the dark brown shirt, or in this case, it looks like a robe. The red fuzzy thing around him, which it looks like he has on the model, and his skin. So what I have here is, because we're going to try something different. I got some brown Stenol-Res. It stands for styrene, vinyl, and resin primer. Haven't used it very much, but what I have, I'm satisfied with it. And some flesh tone primer. And the reason I'm going to use this instead of like a gray or something like that is I'm going to try to use some contrast paints on him, which I haven't used very much either. I don't have a lot, but I have tried it on this, which is it's a Pestilence Pete from Pestilence Labs. Let me see if I can get a better view of him here. Maybe from over top, a little more colorful. And I used it on this, obviously not this. This is a dirty down rust on the bottom. But I primered him black, and then I took some white primer, and I just blew down like a light direction, like an OSL lighting. And literally that is just green contrast paint. That's all that is. All that shading, everything. You know, I might have went back over a couple spots a little darker. But that's all that is. And I like definitely the speed of it, and I like how it looks. Everything looks nice, blended, and yeah, it's just a quick way to cover a lot of area. So we're gonna give that a try. So let's go ahead now and get this guy primed up. Okay, so I put some agitator balls in it, shook it up good because it's been sitting a minute, and took my my test board here. Didn't add any thinner to it. And it seems to be good to go to airbrush straight out the bottle. But I'm going to go ahead and do his skin parts first, because I don't want to try to take a light color and go over dark spots. I can work up to the darkness and just fill it in with a paintbrush. And the reason being is because your contrast colors, it's better to have a light primer, but since his robe is dark anyway, that's why I'm doing it with the brown, because the contrast color is like a paint and a wash, like mixed in one. The paint is trying to be like a base coat and a wash at the same time, if you're unfamiliar. So just hang out, you'll see. Oh, and by the way, if you've seen the last video, you've seen how I got the plaster all over the place. I already took a paper towel, soaked with rubbing alcohol, and wiped him all down like a couple hours ago. Made sure he's good and clean. Plus, if you remember correctly from the review we did, he's got hair that you glue onto this, long straggly hair. So pretty much all this will be covered up anyway. His other hand up under here. Getting a little tip dry. That's okay. I find that if you take the the protector off of the end of the airbrush, you can go longer without getting the tip dry. and it's easier to pull it off when you do, but you have to be careful because it's a protector and you don't want to bang your needle up. Let's see. Let's go ahead and make this tan too, since the pages of the book are light colored. Get down a little bit, blow it back in there just because I know. Admit it. How many of you out there do stuff just because you know? I know I'm not the only one. Nobody else will be able to see it, but I know. Yeah, maybe we'll just hit the book with a little bit of that too. Just a little. I'll make it super light. Maybe a little different here and there. Make it look all worn. I'll make sure it's a little better up here because this is going to be highlight. Alrighty. Hey, we got our, oh, forgot his toe down here. Got a toe hanging out the bottom. Okay. Got the light parts. Let's clean our airbrush out and get to next. Okay, did that, and I did a little bit of Googling. I added a couple of drops of this Toledo. If you know how to pronounce it, put it in the comments. Just a couple drops into a whole cup of this to try to help with the tip dry a little bit. Not that it was a big problem, but you know, we got a lot more to spray right here, so. And when I mean a couple drops, I for the whole cup of this, I literally put in 3 drops, and that was it. Well, you see, I'm making like a little double pass over the inset of the wrinkles, like that. Make it just a little darker in there. Kind of help build your shadows from Jump Street, you know what I mean? We're going to go ahead and just dust his fur vest too. Because when we put the red contrast over it, it might make it a brown kind of reddish kind of red like we see there that we're looking for. I got a good feeling about it. And you know, if it doesn't turn out how we like, we can always just brush paint it with regular acrylic paint. Would not be my first rodeo in doing something over, that's for sure. Seldom is anything new learned without trying something new and messing it up at least once. All right, I'll finish knocking this out. Okay, so I got him done just using the airbrush and just primer. And what I did was I just like lightly brushed it on, or you know, airbrushed it on the highlights. And where there was like shadows and ripples, I went over it a few times to make it a little darker in there. And, you know, gives like our book a little bit of mottling and, you know, different areas that it would be dark. And then I just dusted it with the old Rust-Oleum matte clear. Now, this here, I think out of Rust-Oleum, and, you know, people will say, well, you can't use flat because, you know, it's not smooth. We're talking about Rust-Oleum, okay? I think, well, in person, I can see the shine on this in front of me. So it's not like the flattest out there. I don't use it for the final coat. You know, it's just like to protect layers in between. But I use this, and I can't find this in the store anywhere. I find this online at Home Depot. If I go in a Home Depot store, I can't find the one with this little thing on there. And to me, the other ones they have are different, and they're nowhere near as good. Like I said, not that this is best, but for a working protective coat, it works pretty good. All right, now we'll get to using our contrast paint when this dries up all the way. Okay, so got some Vallejo Express color right here, Wasteland Brown. Nice and kind of dark. Kind of what I was shooting for. Some Kaleido retarder. We'll put a couple drops in that because if you don't know about contrast paints, you have to keep it kind of wet and you can't go back into it once it starts to dry because it'll like peel it up off the whatever you're working on. It'll tear it. I got this bigger brush, Fumi. I think I got it from Amazon, but it seems to have a nice little tip on it so I can kind of stay away from where I want to. And some water, paper towel. All right, let's give this a go. Hopefully I got enough paint because it's just this one bottle. So it's important to do this in like sections. Maybe 3 drops is good, 4 drops for all that. Not really supposed to thin this much. Whole thing is there's no section here. So it's like, have to do the bottom like all the way up to the sleeves and the rope. Just trying to coat the whole thing. Trying to work both sides to keep a wet edge. Looks like the retarder might be doing its job. I think I might have to just put just a drop of water in this. This is a lot of concentrated color here. It's not really spreading much. Of course, the model is also textured. And I mean, this could have just been a bad decision on the type of paint to use for this project. We'll find out. Give it a quick stir up. I know a lot of people use Citadel. I got a couple of their colors, but nothing really brown. When it comes to contrast paint, I'm pretty much a newbie at it here. Get it up to the bottom of our vest here and the bottom of our sleeves. I mean, it looks thick as mud in the bottom. It is. That's funny that it's coming out so light in some spots. I mean, I know it's transparent. Yeah, I want to be careful trying to go back on this side. Because like I said, but this stuff, maybe due to the retarder, still looks pretty wet. There's what we're coming up with so far. Looks a little different on camera, a little darker than it does here. I'll work out a few little brush strokes. All right, let's see if I can go on and work on the hood maybe. Yeah, I may have not appreciated this strong enough. I talked to some friends of mine who does this, and he appreciates all his in grayscale, starting from black and then gray, you know, all the way to white, your highlights. And he showed me pictures of his stuff. It looks outstanding. But I went this route. I guess we won't really be able to tell till it dries. And another thing everybody says, because I've watched a couple videos on this, tried to tighten up my game, my knowledge a little. And, you know, the guy said, watch out for like pooling, you know, check it every couple minutes because this stuff, it's supposed to be thinner, but this stuff seems pretty thick here. This almost reminds me of something thicker like a glaze or something, which I'm not too familiar with either, to be honest with you. Most of my modeling I've just done it with acrylic paints, washes, and oil paints. All right, I think we got it down in there pretty good. We can fill it around his neck in with washes later. Oh, okay. We're starting to get different tones down here. It's starting to dry into the textures and making it way darker. So it looks like burlap or whatever, you know. Oh, shit. Touching it on the back. Where did I touch it on the back? Oh, it's running down the back. That's what it is. You know what? That's okay. We'll just make it like some mottling because we're going to put a different color over this. But I wanted to look kind of like a furish kind of red. So that's okay. We can just slop a little brown on it here and there. Because, you know, fur ain't all the same color anyways. But you can see what they're saying, talking about that pooling and that running. And I made it a little thinner. Because it doesn't really act thin in the cup. I mean, you can look. I turn it sideways like that. It oozes like it's stuck to the bottom, like all the pigment on the bottom is like tar. You can see it. Like when I slosh it around, it looks like old backy spit. Yeah. Really happy he don't have his tuxedo costume on. Now, when it's running down like that, over top of the stuff that's drying, because I don't want that stuff to tear, like they say it can. I actually experienced it a very little bit on the Pestilence Lab, Pestilence Pete head there. I'm just taking the tip of the brush and just like smoothing out the drips. Not really applying any pressure. Just kind of trying to streak them and blend them out a little, if you know what I mean. Now this one here is going to be the interesting one. I guess I could put, because I got fingers, I guess I could hold him by his head. And like I said too, we can go back when we're done and it's all good and dry and put wash over it to give it like a little more shadow in its recessed areas if we want. All depends on how it dries. They say you're supposed to just slosh this stuff on. Well, don't get much sloshier than this. All right, I'm gonna sit here. You can already see our bottom starting to dry. Not looking too bad. A little bit of runnage coming down from up here. I'm gonna sit here and guard dog these drips and runs. Save you guys from that. I'll show you what he looks like when he's all said and done. So this does take quite a while to dry, but I mean it's starting to. But you can see we're starting to get our little bit of highlights and shadows going all the way around there. You see some areas end up real dark because it's like the stuff oozes, even though it's like thick, it like runs forever. So I just kept brushing it down, you know, because I kept getting a one drop from all the paint coming down in this one place. But I mean, you know, that's okay. It's a dark wrinkle right there. And you can't really see it from the front anyways. Got a little bit of one on that side. And, you know, I could possibly clean that all up and blend them together with washes when it's done anyways. But all in all, I think it came out fairly well. I like the highlights and stuff. We can go in and dry brush them on top of this. And when this dries, I'm going to put on the contrast paint for his skin. I even did I watered it down a lot. And put some, I can't really show you, I don't think. Maybe I can like this. I put some on the book. So when we put another color over it, it'll read that through. I'm trying to shoot for like I think the book was like a reddish leather color on the box art. I'm gonna let this dry and then I'll hit the other one and then we'll see where we go after that. Oh, and miraculously, it does feels like I maybe got between a third and a half of a bottle left, so stuff goes a little further than I thought it would. Okay, you see for our skin color, we got like a really like light beigeish, kind of orangish a little bit color. And so what I got here is this Vallejo nuclear yellow, it's called. And this, upon further research, is Xpress medium. From my understanding, you should probably use this to thin it down because it keeps the consistency of the contrast paint, makes it still work as a contrast paint. But since you're adding more medium, you're diluting the pigment. And hopefully we'll achieve what we want to achieve here. I don't need a whole lot, and just to show you, because this has been sitting since last night now. Don't look too bad. And we're far from being finished. on the brown there anyways. My whole goal is, my plan is to do his skin, then do this vest, maybe something on the book there. And then I'm going to clear him with gloss clear at Mr. Super Clear. And the reason I'm not doing it in between steps is because this is kind of expensive, and like I ordered it from Amazon and you had to wait like 2 weeks to get it. So I'm just trying to do it so I can hit it all at once. All right, let's go ahead and see how this pans out for us. Give it a healthy dose of this thinning because I wanted to be very transparent because he's already tan. I'm just trying to give him a little bit of that orangish cast. I'd say that's 1 part paint, maybe 2 parts medium. Gonna break out our handy dandy Badger paint stirrer. Now, I can't really tell how diluted it is in the cup. I did pull out a different brush, smaller, still pointed for control, but we don't need to load up on paint like we did on the big area there. So, and I'm thinking if worse comes to worse and we get a shade that I don't like, I can probably fix it with some wash maybe afterwards. You know what? And if it don't pan out at all, well, I can always just paint over it with acrylic. Pretty transparent there. Let's go ahead and see what we get. Let's just go ahead and go straight for the head right off the rip. I'm not really hating the color. Spread it all around. I don't really want it heavy in any spot in particular. I think that might turn out all right after it dries. Let's go on and move down to the hand. Now, I think this color here is where, sure, I mean, I'm going to do some dark wash on the robe as well. Everything, really. But the skin color is what's really going to need a dark wash, because even though this is settling in the recesses and all that, you know, it's not a dark color. So it's really not showing off the details like a dark wash would. More just like for base coating and transparency, which is fine because that's really all we want to get out of it right now. And I imagine you could speed up the drying on this with a hair dryer, like any of your regular acrylic paints. But I think that's kind of defeating the purpose of letting it run and thin out so you can see through it, and, you know, letting it pool into the details of the sculpture. So I just kind of let it do its natural thing. And, you know what? Let me go ahead and, our next color is going to be this velvet red, a really kind of dark red for the vest that we're going to use. So I'll go ahead and mix that up and we'll get that ready. I'll clean this brush out. Let that dry a little bit. Okay, so we got our red here, the velvet red. 10 drops of that in there. Gonna put a little bit of our medium in there too. I don't want to dilute it a whole bunch, but I want to be able to, some of them browns and stuff underneath to bleed through to give it, like, you know, different, so it's not all uniform. Spin it real quick in water. Looks like I did in a time or two. All right, so we see we drag it up on the side of the cup there. We still got some good coverage. Didn't make it as thin as his skin color. We'll go ahead and try to knock out the front here. This is really textured, so we got to make sure we get it all in there. Once again, we don't have to be perfect on our edges, but we want to try to keep it clean as possible. We'll be able to clean up a little bit with our washes. Really bold right now, hoping that waters down some as it dries. All right, I did the other side off camera. It's still immensely wet. We're going to roll it around to the back. Just paint like we did when we were 5. Slosh it around. You know, the fun kind of painting. All right, we're already starting to dry up on the other side. You can see it's getting a little lighter. That's good. That's what I flipped it over to check. Got a little drip trying to get down there. Get him up. Cover him up with some wash when we're done. When we get to that point, got little thick spots up in here where I had to slosh it on. At this stage in the game, this is where I'm going to have to keep a pretty vigilant watch on it, the runs. But then again, if I hit it with a hairdryer, you know, I won't get that see-through effect probably. Okay, so I'm going to keep an eye on this. We'll be back. All right, so you can see that our red started to dry there. Doesn't look too bad. You can see through it, but not too much. Gives it a little depth. And on the back, and you can even see where I hit it with some of that brown before, that it gave it like color variance. And you can think about it when it's got wash over, it'll tie all that together. So, you know, it won't be so patternized. Your eye will be played with. So, yeah, I'm a little more pleased than I thought I would be so far. So what I'm going to do next off camera is I'm going to let this dry for like 24 hours. And then I'm going to clear it with this Mr. Clear Super Gloss. And because it's a lacquer, I believe, that's one reason why I'm letting that acrylic dry first, is I'll hit it with a dust coat, you know, and let that good and flash. Hit it with another dust coat, let that flash. And then I'll put it on decently wet so it can be smooth, so my washes can flow where I want them to flow and not grip and stain in one area like it would with a matte, because matte, like I always tell you guys, is a rougher clear. Gloss is smooth. And then when I'm done with that, you know, at the finish, go back and airbrush the ultra matte varnish on him. The book, I'm thinking that's looking pretty good right there. It's not done. You'll see in the next video. Our next video is going to be the details, the washing, and the hair. Hopefully we get all that done in one video. So, all right, let's get you guys out of here. All right, so thanks for hanging around and going through that learning expedition with me. You know, hey, in the comments, tell me, have you used contrast paints? Have you not? Do you like them? Can you not stand them? Hey, what's your experience with them? If so, you know, what have you used them on? What do you use it for? You know, are you using it kind of like a base coat like me, or, you know, the whole spiel? But if you've stuck around this long, that tells me that you're probably my kind of people. And if you would like to, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. That is the best way to help the channel. And once again, like I always say to the returning subscribers, thank you, thank you, thank you. If there's other ways you would like to help the channel, I do have YouTube memberships available. The description will be down there below it with a link if you'd like to check those out. There's also a super thanks. It's just like one-time deal. Buy me a cup of coffee. And there also is a Patreon, which once again, thinking about moving it to Discord. Not sure what kind of work that takes, and I've been kind of busy. What we do on the Patreon is get together once a month on Zoom and have like a bench build session, movie talk, life talk, whatever, you know, for like an hour or so. It's only $3 a month. I like to try to keep everything extremely affordable. A viewer last video I made there with the London After Midnight, he said that, you know how I always say, but that's okay, we make models here. He said that would be a good t-shirt. Hey, would anybody be interested in a t-shirt that said that, you know, with a Boggy Creek Life logo on it? Let me know in the comments. So you already know what we're going to do in the next video. And, you know, when I finish one vinyl, I'm going to open up another, because if you go back through the videos, I have plenty to build. And I actually like doing it this way because it gives me an excuse to get them out of the box and get them built. All right. With all that being said, till we see each other again, be good to each other. Model on. Sit, Rocco, sit. Good dog. Roof.